Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for another office hours training. I am Crystal Gunn, your financial strategist, and welcome again. Part of that job as a strategist is to help you have some aha moments, but also to bring you information that may expand your thinking, clear up some things, some misunderstandings, or some misconceptions of things, but also bring you things that you may not have known anything about or had never thought about, may have known it, but didn't understand how it related to you. All of that helps with breakthroughs, right? That's where you start to shift. That's where the magic happens, be it in your personal finances or your overall business. And again, October is Financial Planning Awareness Month. So all month, I will go through some things that are that are essential in building your financial plan for you, your family, and the generations that follow. So I want to talk today about a crucial part of financial planning that many overlook, the emergency fund, right? You've heard people talk about it. You've heard them say you should have this many months set aside. You know what I mean? It was 3 months, then it went to 6 months, then it went to 12 months, but then also just money set aside for emergencies in life that happens. You're tired, blew out, major repair happens on your car, your furnace went out. So life is full of surprises, right? Some good and some not so good. Unfortunately, nearly 37% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency expense. And 21% of Americans have no emergency savings at all, right? So having a financial safety net isn't just about the money, it's about reducing stress and having peace of mind, knowing if something happens, and if you live long enough, something is going to happen. You know that you can take care of it. And so how much should you save to ensure you're prepared for life's unexpected moments, right? So we'll get into all of that. So first of all, what is an emergency fund? It's a designated amount of money set aside for unplanned expenses or financial emergencies. It is not to be used for vacations, impulse purchases, or non-essential spending. So it can't be like, oh, I just want to go buy this thing and it's on sale and I want it, so I'm going to get it. I'm going to pull from this emergency fund. That's not what this is for, right? It's not for regular, just. So when I talk about doing an efficient and effective budget, your financial system of success, there's a line item allocation on there for miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is not emergency. Miscellaneous is, it's money sitting here and I do want to buy this thing. Miscellaneous is, I have relatives come in town. They don't often come in town. So we're going out and I'm going to spend money that's not in my normal allocation. That's miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is not impulse purchase it's not. Miscellaneous is not for unplanned expenses. And when I say unplanned expenses, I'm talking about things like car repair, furnace went out, you need a new hot water tank, right? Those are the type of unplanned expenses or financial emergencies that come up, right? Or um those sort of things, not necessarily things that can be, entertainment and things of that nature that you're doing that you don't often do and you don't often plan for, not those one-offs. Okay. So why is it important to have an emergency fund? Because it prevents you from going into debt when unexpected expenses arise. Now, I'm clear that, and have had these conversations with my clients, that credit can also be used for an emergency fund. Again, going back to, a furnace going out, right? Well, even in your emergency fund, you might not have enough money for a furnace, and you can put it on your credit card and say, okay, well, this is how I get it because I need it today. But then this is how much is in my emergency fund. You may not want to tap that whole emergency fund out. So you pay part of it, you put back on that credit card to cover that furnace. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to pay this off in the next 3 to 5 months or whatever that is, right? So, but that emergency fund typically should keep you from going out of debt. Again, it just depends on how big that emergency is and how much is in your emergency fund. But it also should give you some peace of mind and reduces financial stress because you know if something happens, that money is there. Now, how much should you save, right? That starter, aim for $1,000 to handle minor unexpected costs. Again, $4,000 might not cover cost of a furnace, right? And then you want to start to build on it. 3 months worth of living expenses if you're single or have dual incomes, right? Ideally 6 months. They used to say 6 months. I'm not mad at this point at 12 months, right? I'm not mad at 12 months worth of expenses if you have dependents or if you're self-employed. So if you lost your job, what if it takes you 3 to 4 months before you find one, right? Yeah, you may have some unemployment coming, but unemployment ain't covering everything that you need to spend money on. So you have this money there. Plus, if some other expense also happens during that time, you have the money there. So, 1,000 immediately, but then strive to have 6 to 12 months in an emergency fund. That's what it is. It's sitting in a high yield account that you can get to easily, right? So you want to keep it liquid and accessible. High yield savings or a money market account that has, that's not giving you 0.0001. It's giving you some significant savings. And you don't want to keep it in investment accounts like stocks or that can fluctuate with the market or that will take you a minute to get to. You want to keep it somewhere. This is where you just are. You know what? This is what this is. This is why it's here. It cannot be touched for this, right? Um, so how do you start to build it? You set a goal. Determine your target amount first based on your situation, right? Um, if your monthly expenses, aim for that $1,000 first. When you get to $1,000, you're gonna feel a little better, right? So aim for that $1,000 and then aim for what's your take home pay every month. So if your take home pay every month is $3,500, $4,000. Well, now you got that $1,000 in there. So that next goal is $4,000, right? Because that's 1 month of savings. And then you want to say, well, okay, if I want to get to 3 months of savings, how much do I have to put into this emergency fund? Keep in mind, you still have to do all of this other stuff that you're doing in life, right? So it might be $50 a month going, a paycheck going in there. It might be $100 a month, right? Or you may say, well, I'm going to get to 3,000 in this emergency fund, and then I'm going to back down on how much I'm putting in there. I'm going to continue to put in there every single month, but where I may have been putting $200 a pay in this emergency fund, now I've reached my 3 month goal. 3 months of my salary of my pay is the balance in there. I'm going to cut back, and now I'm just going to do $50 per pay or $100 per pay. Again, depending upon what your financial system of success looks like. And then automate it. You got to make sure that you automate it. It needs to be going in there every single month automatically, because if you're relying on you to get paid and then send that money there, it's not going to happen. You're going to miss. It's not going to happen. So you want to make sure that you're automating it. If you can do it with payroll with your company, do it with payroll. If you cannot do it at payroll because maybe you have enough places, some companies won't send it anywhere. I used to work for a financial institution, and they would only 100% of your direct deposit had to go to their bank, which is understandable. But some will say you can have, two others or maybe three. They may cap you. So if you can't do it from payroll specifically, you may have to set up automatic bill pay or automatic transfers. You want to put it somewhere where all of the rest of your money is not. So if all of the rest of your money is at ABC Bank, you may want this emergency fund at the credit union. You know what I mean? so that it's not easy for you to get at it, but you can get at it in time of emergency. Um, Anytime you get a windfall or tax refund, use it wisely. So direct bonuses, tax refunds, side hustle income, whatever that is, toward that fund to build it up to where it needs to be. And then once it's where it needs to be and where you're comfortable with it being, then you reallocate those funds to somewhere else. So here are some common mistakes that people are going to make. And I can hear you saying it right now. I can hear it churning. People think that it won't happen to me, right? Where this emergency may not, this emergency might. So don't think that it won't happen to you. Um, don't dip into the emergency fund for non-emergencies, right? And here's the thing: if it's between now and next year that there was no type of emergency, right? Tire wasn't blown, there was no type of emergency. Well, you've earned revenue, you've earned the interest on that. So that's cool too, right? So don't dip into it for non-emergencies. Don't think that some sort of emergency will never happen to you. Um, and don't stop once you reach a small amount. Continue building until you reach what your ultimate goal is, right? You will thank me for it later. Because here's the other thing too. You may have some grown kids that don't live with you that have emergencies, and they don't have an emergency fund, and they're going to call you and ask you. So part of that emergency fund sometimes isn't your emergency. It might be the emergency of someone else, a loved one, right? So you want to make sure that you have that emergency fund. So do me a favor. Think about this, if any emergency came up from you for you in the amount of $400 or more, what would you do? Do you have the money in a separate account to cover it? So it's not whether or not do you have the money to cover it. It's do you have the money sitting somewhere else to cover it? Because the money that you have sitting in your regular pot is for your regular life stuff. Is there money sitting somewhere else to recover it? If you pay for it, does it then keep you from paying another bill or any of that? So you got to look at all of those things. Having an emergency fund is about protecting yourself and your loved ones from the unexpected. It's not about how fast you build it, but starting the habit of setting money aside consistently is what's important. And a little at a time adds up, and your future self, I promise you, will thank you for taking the step to do that. Right? So, what's my favorite thing for today? You guessed it. It is the emergency fund. It really and truly is important. Important. I try to bring things across lightly, but this is really something important. I remember hearing someone talk about their mom who recently passed, and they said, their mom would not pay their own light bill if a neighbor or someone came and needed the money to keep their lights on. And sometimes because she would do that, it would cost their own light bill would get cut, their own lights would get cut off. So having that emergency fund, that's where I talked about it might be an emergency for someone else that's close to you, right? To be able to have that money sitting there, to be able to be that blessing for yourself or someone else, for your grown children who don't live in a house with you, is huge. So that emergency fund is really, really important. So what are the steps? What are the things? Kind of talked about how you get there with that emergency fund, but pull out that budget and look at the line item allocation for emergency fund. Do you have something in that on that line? And if not, adjust how much from each pay you can allocate for the emergency fund account. Automate it and get it started today. If this information has been helpful, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so that you never ever miss a office hours, and then be a blessing and share this information with somebody else. Again, just like I say at the beginning, literally in almost I think every time, part of my job as a strategist is to bring you information, things that you may not have thought about or that you've heard, because I know everybody's heard of an emergency fund that you may have heard about, but you're not implementing. And then you might hear something that I say that says, you know what, that makes so much sense. Let me do this. Right. And it'll get you one step closer to where you're trying to be. So share this information. I said all of that to say that. Share this information. You never know what someone else needs to hear, what they've been looking for, what they've been praying for, what they've been asking about, what they've been searching for. Share this information. And remember to always, always give yourself some grace. Keep striving for your next level. So keep trying and not trying. Keep doing the things that you need to do in order to create a financial plan for you, for your family, and for the generations that follow. Financial planning is crucial. So in this, keep striving. Don't stop at one thing. Right? We're going to touch on all of these things this month, but don't stop at one thing. Keep striving. Never give up on you, and invest in you. This is an investment. It's an investment. Some of it is going to cost. It's also an investment of your time, but you're worth it. It is the best investment that you'll ever make. You'll never, ever, ever regret it. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I'm Crystal L. Gunn, your financial strategist, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Be sure to join me for the private online Q&A immediately following. The link is in the description. And if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you never miss this opportunity. Thank you again, and I will see you on the other side.